What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we've been talking about the Xbox Lockhart, or the Xbox Series S rumor, for what feels like forever now, right? It's supposed to be the cheaper Xbox that Microsoft's going to put out alongside of the Series X, so that we have basically an entry price point into next generation. And while it's been rumor this whole time, it does appear that now we actually have confirmation from Microsoft themselves about the Xbox Series S, or Xbox Lockhart. We're going to go over that today. And it feels like history's repeating itself with Crash at this point in Activision, right? With Crash Bandicoot 4 coming out this fall on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, there have been questions about a Switch or even PC version, and it looks like something that happened with Spyro is also happening here with Crash 4, where Activision may have accidentally told us that yes, it is coming out on the Switch. Oh, and we'll talk about Avengers, because that game is shaping up to be quite Anthem-like. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're brand new here, hit that red subscribe button down below as we head towards 500,000 subscribers. And we're going to start today with WB Games. Now, remember, we had heard that AT&T was kind of shopping around to see if any company wanted to buy their video game sector, where they had WB Games like Rocksteady, of course, Montreal, all these other studios that they had packed in that work on the Lego games. And we hear about that Harry Potter game coming up, of course, the Batman games. Well, it turns out that actually might not be happening anytime soon. Most likely some offers fell through, but the CEO, AT&T, sent out an email, and they actually talked about the games division. Warner Bros. Interactive remains part of the Studios and Networks group, along with our global brands and franchises team, including DC, led by Pam Lifford, and our kids, young adults, and classics business, led by Tom Esham, all focused on engaging fans with our brands and franchises through games and other interactive experiences. It does appear that, at least for now, they'll be holding on to WB Interactive. Like I said, I think they were asking for just a bit too much. We had heard the reported numbers of $2 to $4 billion, and considering it's not going to be coming with many IPs at all, maybe Mortal Kombat, because I assume NetherRealm should own that, since that's Ed Boon's studio. Like, they're not getting Batman, right? Nothing like that is coming with it. Superman, none of the DC stuff will be kind of going along with WB Interactive. $2 to $4 billion seems like a lot. EA and Take-Two and even Microsoft were reportedly interested, but if offers fell through, we're just going to decide to hold on to WB Interactive because we want to. We'll see how long that lasts, because the fact that they were shopping it around means that they are interested in selling. We'll see. Oh, and here's something that I really liked. I saw it on YouTube. It was being passed around on Twitter. You ever wonder what would Halo Infinite look like, specifically like the opening bit of that gameplay? If it was on the Nintendo 64, it crossed the mind, obviously, but somebody decided to go to YouTube and present us with just that. You can see some of that here. This is from Hulopi, and it is the opening part of the Halo Infinite gameplay that we had seen previously, but done on what we would see as a Nintendo 64. Now, this isn't like a playable build or anything like that. It's basically just designed in that aesthetic, and it looks great. They even have some fun callbacks where, like, you have the R-Wing flying by, you pick up a star with Master Chief giving the Mario peace sign at the screen as he collects it, and then he jumps out and the painting is Craig, the Brute. So it's just a really fun video. I would go check it out. It's really cool to see, I guess, what Halo would have looked like on the 64. Again, it's not playable, so maybe some other things would have to change, but they also had done previously Death Stranding on the PS1, and that was really cool. So I look forward to some more ideas they have going forward with kind of demakes of some of these newer games. Also, real quick, you should see some Call of Duty news for Call of Duty 2020. This tweet actually went out. You can see it from Charlie Intel saying, "This just arrived from Activision. Do not open this crate until August 10th, 12 p.m. Eastern." That will be later on today. Most likely there might be an announcement on Twitter as early as now, this morning, leading up to that point. Apparently, they are going to get a combination that they can punch into the lock, and it will unlock, and they'll see what's in the crate. I at first thought this could be something for Warzone, but realistically, would they go through all of this, shipping out crates to press and just to promote that? probably not. And we had heard that they would do some odd and different and even interesting things, as they said, to announce Call of Duty 2020 that's supposed to be Cold War related. This would be something you send stuff like this out to press and everyone opens it all at the same time, and we'll see, but most likely something Call of Duty, probably the new game, is going to be announced today. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're going to start right away with the Xbox Lockhart, or as we've all been pretty much calling it, the Xbox Series S. And the reason we've called that is because it makes sense. You can't put an L on the system and call it Series L before it even comes out. That's just not fair for the system. So Xbox Series S makes sense to all of us, and we've pretty much gone with it. And now Microsoft has put that same name on the system through a controller packaging. That's how we know about this. On Twitter, images of the newer Xbox Series controller popped up, and I'm calling it Series because you can see on the packaging, it does say Series X and Series S. It's divided up. So Microsoft is indeed calling it that now. We have confirmation from them. This went out much earlier, as the Twitter user Zach S had purchased this, so they were able to go and buy it and everything, most likely because this controller is also going to be used for things like xCloud, right? So it's not necessarily lined up with like the new Xbox Series launch. Even if it comes out in November, these controllers could start selling as early as, well, obviously now, but like you might see them start showing up in stores ahead of time, because of course we'll see xCloud to start to pop up on Android next month, and you might be buying these, you might get a clip and all of that. So there's a few things here that's pretty interesting. One, of course, it's a white controller, which we've been speculating that the Xbox Series S would be a white system. I mean, the One S came out as a white console, and it would help to kind of differentiate much more from like the Xbox Series X that is like this black looking computer tower. If you have maybe a smaller rectangular white box, it'd be like, okay, this is like the cheaper version, this is the more expensive one. And then of course, we'll be getting all different types of special editions, I'm sure. To go a bit further here, The Verge was able to confirm that these are authentic and legit. So yes, the Xbox Series S does appear to be real, but now the question falls to, when will it be unveiled? We think it's going to be in the next week or two. It should be before the end of August. And the reason they would unveil it, I think, is if they have a price ready. You don't unveil the Series S until you give a reason why it has some sort of advantage or benefit for the market. That would be its pricing. If it's a $300 price and the Series X is a $500 price, well, that's going to undercut the PS5 at least in some way. Even if the Series X matches the PS5 at $500, well, the Series S would be $200 cheaper, and it plays the same next-gen games, just not to the 4K fidelity or the 120 frames per second. They're going to aim this to be like a 1080p, 1440p, like a 30 to 60 frames per second box. Something a bit cheaper, but easier to get into, and you probably won't see a disk drive on it either. It's most likely going to be an all-digital box. However, Sony's going to have their own all-digital box, so it just kind of matches up against Sony, just a bit cheaper. But look out for the Series S. It's basically been confirmed through leaks. Certainly wasn't supposed to happen, but it's been a weird year. I'm sure schedules are in flux, manufacturing's all over the place, and marketing, so I guess look out for the next week or so. Microsoft might even just drop it in a press release. Hey, here's the Series S, and then here's the pricing for the X and the S all at once. Next up, let's talk about Crash Bandicoot 4. It is coming out pretty soon on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, but there are two platforms currently that are missing. That would be the Switch and the PC version. Now, look, we know what happened before with Spyro and the Insane Trilogy, right? It came out on the Xbox One, the PS4, or even a Spyro like PC, but it didn't show up on the Switch or even the PC, depending on which one it was, until later. In fact, Activision was pretty coy about it, didn't say a ton. However, on their website, they would have like these weird references in the source code or even on its own drop-down menu for the Switch or even the PC version. It was very strange. It's almost like they wanted to tell us, but not quite, because of course, they might want you to double dip. If you really want Crash 4 right now, right? You're probably going to buy it on the PS4 and the Xbox One. But if you are mainly a Switch or even PC user, maybe you would wait a little longer to pick it up next year when it comes to those platforms. Well, it looks like a couple of people started digging through some of the source code on Activision's Crash Bandicoot 4 website, and well, check this out. Looks like they did find some references to the Switch. This is from Sunwar Prower, pointing out that on that website, you can see different categories, and you can see references to Switch and to Nintendo and to Nintendo Switch. Yes, so next year, you're going to see it most likely on the Switch and the PC. I think it's going to go to Steam and the Nintendo Switch. I'm not sure how late in the year, and believe it or not, I don't even think it's a timed exclusive thing. I just think Activision wanted to focus specifically on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One versions, because I guess you can basically develop for them at the same time. The one that's weird for me is that they didn't go to PC with it as well. Like, that seems like that would at least line up a bit better with the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. Look, we've seen that the Switch is just a little weird compared to the other systems to get it working 100% and correct and optimized, that a lot of times they have to bring in another studio or dedicate more resources to it to get it done. I think that game will sell well on the Switch, but I also think it'll probably be about 8 months out, maybe even a full year. This could be something that doesn't come out until the end of next summer, or even like midsummer in like June or July or something. But shocker, right? After we've seen what happened with Crash Insane Trilogy and Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Yeah, it's gonna happen again with Crash Bandicoot 4, at least I guess with Nitro Kart. That just all came out at the same time across all of the platforms. This one in particular, Crash 4, just seemed to be a little, I guess, more difficult to get done for all platforms at once, and they're going PS4 and Xbox One first. Next year, look for it on the Switch, and yeah, even on PC. Next up, let's talk about the Marvel Avengers game. I did play it over the weekend during the beta period, and it was all right. I was expecting a bit more out of the game, but it felt very average at best. Yeah, it just wasn't capturing me like I was hoping it would. I don't know if it's the likeness of the characters that are kind of throwing me off, or just kind of the repetitive nature of the game itself. Very concerned right now for what was placed in front of me with Marvel Avengers, but it's the early beta period. We'll see what happens going forward towards the game's release. I'll pick it up and then we'll really check it out. But things that people are pointing out, obviously the issue with Spider-Man being exclusive to the PlayStation console. That's an issue for a lot of people, since Spider-Man's like the most popular Avenger, I guess, right now, right? So people were not happy to hear that it won't be on the PC version or the Xbox version. No, it's not because Sony owns Spider-Man. They just have the film rights for Spider-Man. Nothing really with games. That would be Marvel, because we saw, of course, Spider-Man appear in Ultimate Alliance 3 on the Switch. Well, it turns out we're getting a bit crazier here with the microtransactions and the advertising in-game, and even now exclusive skins too, and I'm not even kidding. Mobile carriers. Yes, when I was signing up for the beta, you have to go to their website, you gotta punch in a code, right, that you get whether you pre-order or you have one provided to you. At the bottom, I did notice that it mentioned Verizon. And I said, well, I don't have Verizon. That's odd. What do you get if you do that? Well, we got our answer here on Twitter. We can see at J Shockblast says, if you have Verizon, check back on Monday. I'm Verizon up. Apparently, there is a way to get these skins. That's right. Right now, in the beta period, by the way, there are skins that are locked behind a carrier wall for your phone? That's weird. I don't really know what is Square doing with this game, because we have multiple currencies. We have skins locked here. They're having Spider-Man be exclusive to one platform. The problem right now that people are seeing with this is it looks more and more like it's becoming a cash grab than anything else from a lot of these moves. I mean, look, we saw Final Fantasy VII Remake do like some weird Butterfinger and candy with crunch bars and stuff, right? But the game itself was good enough to where people look past that. The Avengers doesn't have that luxury. It's not good enough for people to look past this stuff and say, why? I gotta be on Verizon? I gotta go to Verizon carrier to get these apparent red skins for my characters? That's the other thing that people are noticing, is that you don't actually change your cosmetic appearance when you equip items, and it seems that they have separated those probably to sell more or do more things like this. Very cautious right now, at least I am, towards this Avengers game. I'm gonna keep an eye on it, and again, I will check it out when it releases, and I'll check it out next week in the new beta, to see if they have any added content or anything different, because right now it feels pretty repetitive, average, and to be honest, Very Anthem-like. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about an interesting Q&A from SEGA, as they of course had their fiscal earnings, and they were asked specifically about Persona 4 Golden. It released on Steam, did very, very well. So well, it actually shocked SEGA, which, okay, sure. You know what? Let's just go to the answer that they had after they asked about the success for Persona 4 Golden. We remastered Persona 4 The Golden, a title previously sold on the PlayStation Vita, and it released it for sale on Steam this fiscal year. Because of the game's critical acclaim and its low selling price, sales were much stronger than expected. We will continue to actively promote porting previously released titles to Steam and new platforms. We are also negotiating with platform holders for new games in the future, and we're considering ways to sell under favorable conditions for each title. Among them are measures such as preparing PC versions of the titles from the beginning, with multi-platform releases in mind. SEGA and Atlus, obviously. Like, what is going on here? You didn't know that Persona 4 The Golden, a game that's been locked to the Vita this whole time, that is critically acclaimed, people love that game, you move it over, it doesn't need much to run. The thing runs on a potato, right, of a computer, and it sells well at $20 and they're shocked. All right, sure, fine. Okay, you know what? First you need to do, Persona 4 Golden, you gotta port that thing everywhere. Put it on the Switch, put it on the PlayStation 4, put it on the Xbox, I mean, just everywhere. The VCS, you can leave the VCS, but like everywhere else, right? It's obvious to me, I think it's obvious to most of you. A lot of these games that they put out, whether it's Persona or Shin Megami, any of these games, they should just all be multi-platform. Like, Sega's a third-party company, Atlus belongs to Sega. Like, these things should just be everywhere. They're talking about multi-platform releases. They're talking about looking at PC with more of a focus. That's also a very good idea. It blows my mind sometimes with Sega and Atlus, the way they're just shocked that some of these games are selling. Yeah, they're good, and they're a fair price. People are buying them. Maybe you should port them around and, make them available to more people, and, sales might go up. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Keith saying, since Bethesda didn't say Skyrim is getting a free upgrade, you know they're going to sell another remaster. Okay, so I've seen people joke about this. Can Skyrim live on into the next generation for the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5? And the answer to that is probably yes. There was like an Amazon listing that people were sharing around. That was fake, by the way. It wasn't real. But yeah, I think Bethesda's going to try to do it. And I think what they're going to do is they're going to try to move it over. They might even do like some kind of upgrade patch if you already own the game and maybe you buy it or something. Or they just keep selling the PS4 and the Xbox One version of the game, and they have an update that puts it at 60 frames per second, and they have some sort of ray tracing enabled, and that's their big thing. All the DLC, of course, is there, but like that would be their big upgrade, right? And you know what? People would probably buy it and Skyrim would live on. Yes, I am really looking forward to the next Elder Scrolls because like I'm Skyrim'd out at this point, right? And obviously I'd like to see Starfield, but yes, people are joking. Wait till that reveal happens with Skyrim because it's coming. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. It really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today. Whether it's that Xbox Series S being officially leaked on a controller packaging from Microsoft themselves. Seems like some of the marketing and the stocking of products kind of all out of sync. Makes sense for this year, but that tells me that we're getting pretty close if they're printing it on the boxes for the controllers for that Series S reveal. What do you think it's gonna look like? That's the big question there. Also, what about Crash Bandicoot 4 on the Switch and the PC? Do you think that's coming earlier next year or later? I mean, it's pretty obvious they're gonna do it. They did it with all the other ones as well. And then, did you play the Marvel Avengers game? Let me know what you think about down below. I could see some people liking it. Honestly, though, I was a bit disappointed with what I saw in that first beta, and I'm hoping that things change up as we go forward. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.